Let me ask you this. Who is, because once we get to this last preseason game, I start to look around and I have thoughts about the roster. Give me one guy that you really, really like and are fearful the 49ers are going to wind up cutting him. Is there a guy on this roster that you're like, this guy can play? I'm convinced of it. And I'm also convinced that the 49ers may not know that, and he may get cut.
Okay. I think I have two guys.
Okay.
So one, I really don't want them to cut Cody Schrader.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. And I kind of feel the same way. So go ahead. What do you what's your reasoning?
I like Cody Schrader because he can do a little bit of everything that the Niners are asking to do. He's a hard runner. And he's shown that even with his size, it's very hard to get him down off the first contact. He's got good vision. He runs his steps very well. I mean, by his third step, it's a read step. By his fourth step, he's cutting. I mean, he's really has picked up the inside and outside zone scheme, which is something that is hard to do. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen Jordan Mason for so long, is because he had to get through Bobby Turner. Bobby Turner would not let him on the field. Yep. The fact that Cody Schrader is showing what he can do with this run game is not necessarily emblematic of how he's pleasing Kyle, but how he's actually passing the Bobby Turner test. So for me, that speaks volumes for a young kid to be doing that. Also, he does fairly well in blocking. That's something that I thought that, because you get smaller backs, it's like, oh, but he runs so well with the ball. It's like, yeah, but that's more than playing running back is not just is outside of carrying the ball. He does well blocking. I like how he runs in all of this. I've been seeing all of this, not just in preseason, but we saw this in practice, Larry. Cody Schrader's been doing this since camp. He's been the first guy out on the practice field, one of the last guys to leave since the day he got here. I mean, that just speaks to the awesome type of guy we would have in the locker room as well. On top of the fact that he's been actually a bright spot in a run game where the offensive line hasn't been necessarily consistent. And he's still been balling out.
I would even go further than that. Not only has it not been consistent, when he hasn't run or he hasn't looked good, it's because he's got no hole. I mean, you can't run through two defenders who are in the backfield. I mean, you can, but I mean, that's hardly the expectation. I thought, Cody Schrader, it wasn't like Cody Schrader, Shanahan always has that saying, Coach, hey, if it's blocked for 2, you got to get at least 2. If it's blocked for 4, you got to get at least 4. I haven't seen him this summer, either in practice or in the game, where it was blocked for 4, but he got 2, or he blocked for 2 and he got stuffed. He seems like he's getting what it's blocked for. And I'm not sure if he's getting more than that, but he's not getting less. So I like what I see out of Schrader, but I also don't think he's, well, I mean, I hope he's not claimed off waivers. I don't think he would be. I think they can get him to the practice squad. I would be, okay. I'll just say this. If it came down to it, I think there's a better chance that Cody Schrader gets through the waivers than Garendo.
Okay.
What do you think? Because Garendo's big, strong, fast. Cody Schrader's instinctive.
Garendo will get picked up right away.
Yeah, he's just too big, too fast.
All right, so I have one more in a bonus. So also Garrett Kingston. Do you
think that he doesn't make it?
Yeah, I don't think he makes it because of the guards that we have that are hurt. I think he may not make it because of the emergence of Pooney, right? So Pooney just took somebody's spot. We're not letting go of Feliciano when he comes back off injury, and we're not letting go of Spencer Burford. So, and then Aaron Banks has got to come back. So that's 3 guards right there. All right. That are not playing.
I have 9 offensive linemen on my roster. And my 9 are the 5 starters right now, right? So Trent, Banks, Brendel, Pooney, and McKivitz. And then so I have 4 backups. And my 4 backups, Coach, are Jalen Moore, Spencer Burford, Jarrett Kingston. And to me, the last spot comes down to Nugent or Zakel. And I like Zakel as a dude. He's a good dude. But I think Nugent may have outplayed him in the preseason if you really graded it out. Nugent is one of the guys that I think they're going to cut that I'd be fearful that they would cut and lose. Because I think Drake Nugent's going to play center in the NFL for 8-10 years.
Well, there's a name that I didn't hear you say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you think Ben Barch isn't going to make it?
No, I don't think Ben is going to make it. So yeah, I mean, and that's another tough one, Coach. I mean,
I think Ben Barch is going to make it.
Yeah, and you might be right. I mean, and I'll say this: Forster loves Ben Barch.
Yeah,
and he's the coach, and it's his call. So you might be onto something there. But
yeah,
here's the thing about the backups. I think you got to have the backup tackle, right? So Jalen Moore for sure is making it.
For sure.
Kingston has played some tackle. So
he played tackle throughout camp.
Yeah, I mean, but he played guard and tackle. But I mean, and some people think he can play center. And Kingston is kind of a power lifter. The functional strength.
I think. Hold on,
I'm not sure what the functional strength.
Drake Nugent is expendable because of Kingston's versatility.
Yeah,
Kingston can
and
play
Pooney
O-train.
too. Pooney's very versatile.
Yes. Pooney can play, not Pooney, but Kingston can play center, guard, and tackle.
To me,
Drake Nugent
comes down
is a center. Period. He's just a center.
I guess here's my question: is who's better between Zakelj and Nugent? And I know Zakel's Purdy's buddy, and so obviously that I think they're pushing him.
That plays.
I really do.
That plays.
I think they're pushing him. I also
Right.
think that Zakelj can play guard and center. But I've watched Zakelj closely this summer.
I have to.
I don't see it. I'm not seeing it.
I see it more at guard for him than center.
Yeah, he the quickness, it seems like at center, he has a hard time keeping the guys in front of him. I don't know.
He's huge. He is 6'7",
he's 6'6",
playing.
Yeah,
he's 6'6", playing
315.
center. Yeah, that really doesn't help
boy.
him. He's a big boy at center. I like him at guard, Larry. I really do. It's almost unfair to him from just his body to be at center, and the way he plays. He's a very upright player. He pops out of his stance very high. He uses his length, but that can hurt you when you're going up against shades and nose tackles that really want to get under your pads and long arm you. So I don't know. I feel like Drake Nugent, Drake Nugent has grown on me somewhat. I still think that he needs a little bit more polish, but I feel like he's too one note for what we needed offensive line. Like, he is a center, but that's all he is. Like, Drake Nugent's not a guard. He's not long enough. He's too short of a guy, so he can't reach. He's got good athleticism, but that only plays from the center position, the angles that you're going to be asking him to do. He can't do that stuff at guard. He's too little. So when we start talking about backup offensive line, we got to start thinking about versatility. That's what matters, in my opinion. That's what matters.
No, you're totally right.
Yeah.
If you're a backup offensive lineman, you have to be able to play multiple spots. It's as simple as that. And I think they'll go with 4 backups. At times, some teams go with 3. Some teams go with 8 linemen. I think the Niners probably go with 9. As I said, I think the 5 starters plus Jalen Moore, Burford, Kingston, Zakelj, Nugent on the practice squad. The only one that's I'm not sure about is Hubbard, because I know they would like to have one more tackle. Maybe would they go with Hubbard over Kingston and try to get Kingston and Nugent? Kingston was a 6th-round pick, Nugent an undrafted free agent. Maybe you get both of those young linemen to the practice squad. I could see them going that direction as well. Keeping Hubbard, cutting Kingston, keeping Zakelj, cutting Nugent, going with 9 offensive linemen and the 2 rookies off the practice squad. So that's one thing to look at. The guy that I'm fearful of not making the team, that I just am a huge fan of, is Jalen Graham. Do you think Jalen Graham's going to make this team? He should. He barely played yesterday. He had 1 tackle. He missed.
I mentioned that yesterday.
He was
quiet. He was quiet yesterday. He had that. What was that? He had a tackle for loss in the backfield near the red zone. But he was quiet yesterday. You know who's really turning on? Bethune.
Yeah. But
Bethune
see, here's the thing. Bethune is making all kinds of tackles. But Graham can run and can play all 3 downs, where Bethune, I think, is a 1st and 2nd down guy who can't run. But, man, I mean, I mean, I want to keep Bethune too.
But no, but
to me,
this is
you know what
one
it comes
thing.
down to? This is my six.
Okay.
These are my 6 linebackers. Warner and Campbell. I thought Campbell played well yesterday, by the way. I thought that was Campbell's best game, in my opinion. I have Warner and Campbell. I have Graham and Winters. I have Curtis Robinson. So I have 5 there. And to me, I'm going with Tatum Bethune over Flanagan Fowles.
All right. Okay. Me too. So, in my opinion,
what were you thinking I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say keep Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, and I was like,
no. I mean, and I love Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, and I know Johnny.
He's one of the longest tenured guys here. We get it.
Yeah, but he's going to clear waivers, I think. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But I'm not saying goodbye to Tatum Bethune after watching the guy in 3 preseason games make 23 tackles
all over the field. Yeah,
he made 23 tackles in 3 preseason games.
I mean, we did this before, and we kind of lucked out. Curtis Robinson was here before, and I was livid that we let him go. Remember when Curtis Robinson was here 2 years ago?
Oh, he's developed himself.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So developed.
He was a guy then, and then he ended up going to Denver, and I was so gutted. Like, dude, we lost a guy, man. But Curtis Robinson, Jalen Graham, D. Winters, Fred Warner, and Devondre Campbell, those are my guys. I think that you're right. Tatum Bethune has played his way onto this team, and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles is the odd man out. Right now, Jalen Graham has been slowing down. He looks good in his pads, Larry, but that really doesn't count for much. He's got to show some production. And for what it's worth, Jalen Graham. Jalen Graham, he looked great in the last game.
In the last game,
he had phenomenal.
He had a couple hits on the quarterback. He had a tackle for a loss. He had a sack. He had like 6 tackles. The last game, he was everywhere. In this game, I don't know if it was the usage or what, but he just didn't make that many plays. I just didn't see him out there that much. But to me, Jalen Graham is a really good linebacker prospect. I would be really pissed if they wind up losing him. And I think they may lose him. Why do I say that? Because when I asked Sorensen about Graham this week, I said, hey, what does Graham need to do to make that step forward and run with the ones? And not only did he not give an answer as to what he can do to run with the ones, he just kind of said that it's going to be a really tough cut at linebacker. Yes.
That was his response?
His response to how does Jalen Graham run with the ones is that it's going to be a really tough cut at linebacker. But I still don't see them cutting Graham, but they may want to go with Flanagan Fowles and Tatum Bethune. It might be a thing where Bethune is beating out Graham, but I like Graham's movement ability a lot more than Bethune's. I think if you go with Bethune, he's going to get isolated in space against an athlete and a key passing down, and they're going to force him off the field. Where Graham, I think, has got better versatility, better speed, better ability to play all the spots.
So
please don't cut Graham. And that would be my thought.
If we're going off of what we've seen, and then, just based off the recent information that you've just given us, it may be Graham.
I know. I'm fearful of it.
One thing that they do here is they're all about loyalty and trust here. So that's what Demetrius Flanagan Fowles has going for himself.
Yeah.
He hasn't necessarily had a bad preseason camp. What I mean by bad is I haven't noticed him that much. But then again, sometimes guys that are around for a long time, you just kind of like don't even commit them to memory. Tatum Bethune, for one, I will say this. If there's a blind spot on Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, right? Because they're just trusting him with all of the special team stuff and all of the supplementary roles that he plays here. If the real evaluation was to be had, if you're going back and watching last night, it was Curtis Robinson versus Tatum Bethune last night. And if you had to look at, who played better last night, you would have to say Curtis Robinson got himself cut last night.
Oh, but no. You're talking about Curtis Robinson, I think, made the team.
Not Curtis Robinson. So sorry. Jalen Graham. Sorry.
Yeah.
You would have to say Jalen Graham got himself cut last night.
I hope that's not the case.
Because Tatum Bethune outplayed him.
Oh, he did.
If it was head to head.
Yeah, he did. He did. But man, to me, I want both those guys. To me, I don't like trading instinctive young linebackers because it's just like you need those guys, and that's how you stop the run in the NFL is when you have instinctive young linebackers. I love what I've seen all summer from the Niner linebackers. Graham, Bethune, Winters, especially Robinson.